Good morning, Rachel. Welcome to the Bookaholic podcast.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, I am just glad to see you. I was reviewing your information and I'm like, she brings a lot of joy just by the mere
Mm.
fact of what she is wearing. She brings a lot of joy. And I thought
Mm.
that you would definitely be a good person to have at the start of the year, where people are looking for something. They say it's
Mm.
resolutions, they say it's goals, they say it's this, they say it's that. But I think people actually want a reset at the
Yeah.
beginning of the year. If they could press sometimes a control alt delete button, they would. And bring about more joy and more happiness to their lives. And so
Mm.
not only because of your look and what you're
Mhm.
wearing, and I think if we could reach that inner child, which I think you deal
Mm.
with, we can bring about more joy and happiness to our lives. So to say all that, you describe yourself, and I thought this was really unique. You describe yourself you work as a psychologist, an
Uh-huh.
author, and a playgroundist. And you love to listen to and highlight the beauty in people. Please, let's just get straight to it. Tell me about you're an art playgroundist. What
Yeah.
is an art playgroundist?
Yes. Well, thank you for the welcome. And being an art playgroundist is a made up term by me. And the reason I made that up is when I make art, I feel like it's recess and I'm on the playground with my friends. The wind is in my hair, I'm on the swings, and I'm free.
Yeah, that sounds
Hmm.
wonderful. And I don't think a
Yeah.
lot of adults have that. I don't think they have a daily recess or even a
Mm.
weekly recess in their life. They wait until,
Mhm.
well, I'll go on vacation. I'll take a long weekend. What would you say to
That's
that
true.
statement?
Yes. I would say that joy is serious business, and that
Mm,
joy is connected to feeling alive, and that and like healthy in a deep way. And so, um, connecting with and listening to what brings out our vibrancy is serious business. And it is things that you're right. I think a lot of people wait for a vacation. And what if we didn't wait? What if
right.
we looked at even the ordinary details of our everyday lives and thought about, all right, what again? I don't know if you ever forget this, Deirdre, but I forget sometimes, like, wait, what do I enjoy eating again versus just grabbing stuff? Like, what really
Well,
makes me happy?
that's a thought. What do you really enjoy eating as opposed to just grabbing stuff and eating out of stress or nervous or something like that?
Right. I just tried a new recipe. It's super simple the other day, and every single bite I felt alive and joyful. I was like, oh
Oh
my
my
gosh. And let
goodness.
me tell you, it was banana pancakes. And all the
Oh,
ingredients was mashing one banana in a bowl, so it's nice and mushy, like making banana bread, and then adding
yeah,
2 eggs. You can also throw in some cinnamon and vanilla and stir it up.
right.
That's it. That's your batter. And then, like, you make pancakes, maybe butter, whatever you like on your griddle, and then you just fry them up. They actually cook like pancakes. And then, if you want, add some fruit on top when they're done. Um, Unbelievable. People have asked me, like, is there really no flour or anything? I said, mm-mm, it's just
I
eggs
was
and
getting ready to
banana.
say, did you leave out flour? But you
Uh-huh.
didn't.
They're so good. Like, if you like
Oh
banana
my
bread, you'll love these. Okay,
oh my
this is just
gosh.
one example of, like,
Yes, yes, yes.
oh, I love me and I am just like we pet our dog or cat or whatever, like love
Yeah,
them up. Like I also
yeah.
need to love me up because I love me and I need my care. And so,
Yes, yes.
yeah, every day, like what I cook or like what I put on my body, is it soft and comfortable and does it bring me joy? And what brings me joy in a garment may be different than what brings you joy. And that's perfect. Um,
Wow.
and am I selecting friends who say kind words? And, if you just allow yourself to go through the whole day, um, our ordinary lives are also our extraordinary lives. And
Mhm,
we
mhm.
don't need to wait for a vacation, although we can include a vacation.
Although
Yeah.
well
Yeah. That's right.
well, what you're saying is so true, and I think it adds a
Mm,
depth to what we've been talking about, the last few years, when we were in the pandemic and a lot of people self-care
mm,
existed, that term existed before the pandemic, but I think people
mhm,
didn't really take it seriously until the pandemic and out of the pandemic because that was a whole mental health stressful period of time for everyone
mm,
on earth, and
mhm,
if
mm,
you know, it was
mm,
odd. It was like you didn't have to rush out the door every day. You were working from home, you didn't have to do X, Y, and Z, but not interacting with people or that whole big change of your lifestyle, that was actually stressful. So there again came the self-care aspect, which I applaud. But when you add on the depth and dimension of your everyday life should be
mm,
joyful. For example, I see a
mm,
lot of influencers, and I guess some generations of people didn't learn this, but I certainly did living in my household growing up. Make your bed every day.
mm,
That's a kind of soothing chore that you have to do, but it makes your surroundings in your bedroom nice, your vista nice. Instead of
mm,
having a crumpled up bed, you have a
mm,
nice, well decorated bed that adds to the
mm.
vista of your bedroom.
That's a
Simple,
great.
necessary, but it can also be a beautiful thing because that not looking at a crumpled bed, which would cause me some stress, as opposed to looking at a well-made
Yeah.
bed, which does not cause me
Yes.
stress. That's just a little incremental thing, you
Yes.
know, um,
I
that
love that
to
example. Yes,
you know,
I'm so
you
with
know?
you. This could be the whole conversation. I was like preparing. I've got a big talk the end of February, and I was preparing for it a little more yesterday. And I lit a candle that smells so good next to me as I was doing it. And I'm telling you, it's again that little everyday things. And it's like it just
Yes,
transformed the little area I was in. Like, this is so hard work. I kind of don't want to do it. But then the candle, Miss Magical
yes,
Candle, like made all
yes,
the
yes.
difference.
I
Hmm.
will say, here here's just one of my 10,000 candles in my house,
Oh my
and
gosh. Cheers.
it's not
Cheers. Wait, here it is.
I love
Yes.
it.
Uh-huh.
Because that's one ritual I came out with during the pandemic. I lit a
Mm,
candle every day, and I
mm,
still do.
mm,
I have the diffusers, I have candles, and just those scents bring about that aroma brings about peace and joy to my life on a daily basis. I
yeah.
agree with you 100%, and it can make a big difference of what you really want to do. Later
Yeah.
today, I have to do a lot of math, which I can't stand. But if I have music playing and my
Oh.
candle lit, I think I can get through it. Maybe, but also with a cup of coffee.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes, yes. And I hope a lot of people will get what we're saying. Um, you know, in this moment. Now, we've discussed this a little bit, but let's talk about your inner child, and let's give folks a real hard definition of the inner child and why you shouldn't leave it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to begin with the obvious, which is we all began as children, right? We do have that in
Right.
common.
Yes.
And and then what happens is that we, of course, time is a wild thing, but we grow, we get older, and we have all these stages and ages. And I think it's a misunderstanding that we need to just literally leave those ages and caring for those ages behind, because they're
Mm,
still all within us. You know,
yeah.
we sometimes feel that when we have something triggered, like, what would it be? Like, if I'll do a positive trigger. If you loved libraries when you were a little girl, and now you
Hmm.
walk into a library, you might be just filled with good feelings and primal good
Yeah.
feelings, like
Yeah.
really strong. And that is just a one out of a million examples that that little girl is still with you. And
Yeah.
likewise, if something kind of hard happened, which of course life is full of, light and shadow. It's hard
Yeah.
and beautiful. And so, likewise, if something difficult happened with a certain person and then you run into them later in life, you may feel some of those old, difficult, painful feelings because the little
Right.
girl is still with you. And
Yes.
so, there's just all kinds of ways to think about that. And so that when you think about circling back to our initial conversation today about joy and self care, and um, that some of our self-care can include, what would the child in me appreciate, not
Hmm.
forgetting, and how would she like me to care for her? um, what would it feel like if this is something I would like, to get myself a stuffed animal or a toy car, or a game I really liked from childhood, a board game, or like I got myself, well, I got a gift. So, okay, this is tangential, but it's in the same thing. I don't
Okay.
know, did you ever, it could be a different generation thing, but one of the dolls I had when I was little was a Chrissy doll. And you could pull out
Yes,
the
I had a
hair.
Chrissy doll. I had a
Did
Chrissy
you
doll.
really? Yeah, you know what I'm
Yes, I
talking
did.
about. Yes.
Well, wait. Okay, hold on, Rachel. I had two. There was the Chrissy doll that was like maybe like the teenager or the young woman in her early 20s that was rather tall and thin,
Yep.
like, and her
Yep.
hair grew out of the top of her head. And then
Yes.
there was the big fat baby. My niece and I had the big fat baby that was more like the size of a baby, and her hair grew out of the top of her head. So which one are you talking about?
I had the Chrissy doll who was tall and kind of reddish hair. Yep. I didn't have
Yes.
both. Look at you. Deluxe. You had them both.
Ye
Yes. And do you see? I want you to notice the smile that's going on for you. And
Oh my
the sort of,
god.
did you notice the wellspring that came forward? I had a Chrissy doll.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
like there was this, like something happened out of you, right?
yes,
And
yes,
that's
yes,
exactly what I'm talking about. So your inner child is still with you because that is something
yes,
from childhood. But upon mentioning it, you had a really strong response and your whole face lit up. And
yeah,
when my sons were little, when I'd see just a little smirk or it looked like they were holding back a smile, I'd say, I could see that smile. And then they couldn't hold it back and they'd laugh. And I feel that way a little bit about you right now. Like you were like starting to kind of hold it back. And I'm like, I can see your smile. Anyway, so yes. So
yeah.
um I'm also an artist and author, and so, well, art playgroundist. And so my newest book I have in one of my pages, I discuss this because what it's all about
Mm.
relationships, and one of the chapters is about relationships with clothing. And so
Oh,
I have a number of pages where I talk about these kind of things, about caring for our relationship with our clothing in deep ways. And And the whole thing with clothing, with our dolls, with our inner child is about just caring for this life that's ours and doing it
Mhm.
distinctly. So I do have one page in there where I recollect numerous things from childhood, like the Chrissy doll, like the Light Bright toy, like Bonnie Bell lip smackers. And I could keep going, but I have this whole paragraph of things like this. And
Oh,
um, and that when I think of all that, it's like, oh, I want to keep like um, caring for my life the way I did then. Like, what am I
yeah,
giving myself now that conjures up that kind of care? And so I
right.
did all that. And I'll just tell you, my husband surprised me and gathered a Chrissy doll through eBay or something and a number of things that were on the list and had this sort of big present he gave me. So now I actually have a Chrissy doll again.
Oh my gosh, you know what was running through my mind? I was like, "You
uh,
know what? I bet you I can find a crystal." And more importantly, Rachel, for me,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was one of the few, dolls around at the time that had a black girl version, and that I could play with,
Mm, that's
to
super
reinforce
important.
myself and
Of
my own
course.
beauty and all these
Of
things, my own
course. And your
identity. And so it
gorgeousness and your preciousness with your dark
yes,
skin.
yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, yes. So it was
Oh,
wonderful. I mean, I cannot even,
yeah,
and I would say this to you,
yeah.
Rachel.
Mm,
In my full adult life, my husband and I own a home health business. Now, that's a very serious business, very serious
mm,
to take the
mm,
care of people. But that's not my bailiwick, though. That's more his
mm,
bailiwick. But what has brought me joy in the last going on 2 years is doing my podcast, doing my
mm,
podcast about books. When I do interviews, when I do pre-interviews, when I work on my social media, my book influencing, and all of these things, it's not work for me. It is total joy and
yeah.
pleasure. In my mind, a very long time ago, I have said to myself, I wonder how in the world I could earn a living by reading books. That stayed with me and has been rolling with me all this time. And not that I per se am making what's traditionally called a living reading books, but I'm on my way.
Yes, you are. Yes. And that, I mean, our joy is just like the sweet breadcrumbs to be following, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I love reading books and I need to lean into this.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes. Well,
Hmm.
we kind of mentioned a little earlier, life can be rough enough. There's going to be, like you said, shadows that come about anyway, but that is the ebb and flow of life. For example, people are going to pass away. We know that.
Yes. Oh,
And
yeah.
we know that that's going to be extremely painful when it does happen, but we do know that. But the thing about it is the rest of the part of life does not always have to be gnawing, like you're gnawing a bone, every day, and
Yes.
crushing. It just doesn't have to be crushing every day.
Yeah, yes. And even the days where there is crush, it's like, and maybe especially on those days, that's when it's
Yeah.
like, if you have the wherewithal, make those banana pancakes. I'm saying that metaphorically.
Yes.
Hug your stuffed animal,
Yeah.
play Disney music in the background,
Yeah.
light the candle,
Yeah.
etc. Mhm.
Exactly. Well,
Mm.
let's get back to your book. What is the title of your book actually?
Mm. My newest one is the relationship book, and
Yes, yes.
um, it is full, like I said, of different kinds of relationships. So I cover chapters about relationship with myself because it's really about
Mhm.
caring for yourself in all these relationships. Um,
Right.
Relationship with myself, with animals, with food, with clothing, with people, with community, and with
Mhm.
divinity. And
Ooh.
it's in full color. So every page is illustrated by me. And I
Oh,
include
yes.
on each page spread um, an anonymous client quote from my psychotherapy practice where they've given me
Oh,
permission to use them because I just found these very inspiring. And then I have my own written reflection that's kind of poetic next to it. And then the end of each chapter, I have a number of questions for the reader that they can either skip over if they're like, "Don't make me work. I don't want questions." That's great too,
right.
because not everyone likes that. But some people dig
Right.
those and want that for personal journaling or book clubs or for
Yeah.
some fun questions to talk with a friend over tea about. Um, yeah, and so that's what it is. The best-selling author, Sark, I don't know if you know of her, she calls it a giant love generator, the book.
Oh.
So
Oh,
it's
wow.
yeah, so it's been a lot of fun. Here's the cover. Whoops, go back
Yes.
for those
Yes,
who can
yes,
see it.
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so
let me
that's the
ask.
newest.
Oh, wow. And how many books do you have under your authorship?
That is my fourth.
That's your 4th. Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of all of that, oh, I just feel so happy. I've gotta have that book, Rachel. I've gotta have that
Oh.
relationship book. I've
Oh,
gotta have
bless
that. I
you.
really think that that's going to help me a lot, and I think that is gonna
Oh,
help a lot of other people a lot as well. So just to mention all of that, we're gonna have, your social media contacts, all your information in the podcast show notes and in
great.
the video description box on YouTube, so that people can reach out to you, and buy your books. Let me ask, do you do any psychoanalysis like through Zoom?
Yeah, so my primary thing is I do counseling. So,
Mhm.
and I've done that
Yeah.
for almost 30 years. And now I do a blend of it being online and in person in Minnesota.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, and the pandemic really encouraged the online. So now people have
yeah.
just found out, gosh, sometimes that's just convenient, even if, they're just a half hour away or whatever. Like it saves them the
Right.
commute and let's meet online,
Right.
and so that's great by me. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
Okay. Well,
I
that's good to know.
yes, definitely. Um, I was just thinking, I if that might be fun to read like a little excerpt from one of the
Yeah.
pages. And I was just thinking
Yes,
of one of the
please.
pages that would be like kind of a nice connection to some of what we've been talking about, inner child, self-care, just sort of weaving some of what we're talking about. What do you think of
Yes,
that?
please do. Let's go for it.
Oh, okay. And I know it'll be in the show notes, but I will just say people can easily find me just by going to rachel.oz.com and find my
Oh,
shop, my counseling stuff, all the things, just to mention it also verbally. But I'm going to
yes.
do the thing like we're in kindergarten. I show you the page spread with the picture.
Oh, yes,
So I'm
yes.
going to read to you about the purple guy.
Okay.
Okay, so the anonymous client quote is this: I've named the nervous part of myself the purple guy, and I'm working on hearing him and being good to him. And here's my
Oh,
reflection. I know I love the purple guy.
my gosh. Oh
Okay,
my
here
gosh.
it is. I open my cape, and a cast of characters flocks forward, each Emmy awarded and deep heart applauded. There's the purple guy who's always nervous, Gladys, who always feels she must put on a glad face, and Candy,
Oh,
who invariably asks for more candy. There are many others with hands waving excitedly in the air, waiting for their day to be chosen, named, and brought into the fold. There are
oh,
these parts of me who I laugh with and lounge with, cry with and hold, rest with and wrestle with, reconcile with and release, and do it all over again. Seeing them outside of me gives me a new way to introduce myself to myself. I then seem to show up with better manners, treating myself with more care. At the close of the day, I tuck them in and whisper sweet dreams and tell them I'll see them again in the morning.
Oh, so nice.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
that's beautiful and wonderful. You don't
Oh,
know how you've inspired today, and I hope and pray that you've inspired my audience today as well. Rachel
oh.
Oz, thank you so much for joining the Bookaholic podcast.
Thank you for having me so much.